Throughout this series on the Second Vatican Council, we've been focusing on its ongoing impact and relevance in today's church. We've spoken with people who've lived through the early days following the Council, who shared their experiences of the effects of the Council's vision of renewal on their ministries and on the parish as a whole. In this episode, we're going to talk to three people who are living their discipleship right now in ways that have been shaped by the renewal begun by the Council right here in our own community. Paula DeStefano serves as Coordinator of Religious Education for primary grades here at St. Leo's. Before joining the staff of the parish, Paula had been active in a number of ministries and could most often be found participating in any adult faith formation activity offered by the parish. She continues to be a member of the Social Concerns Ministry, as well as assisting with Children's Liturgy of the Word, bereavement, and consolation ministries. Tom Dogus and his family have been members of the parish for 15 years. Together with his wife Roseanne, Tom has been a catechist in our religious education program, witnessing to his faith for children of all ages. Now, Tom is working to build up the spirituality of the men of our community through the Holy Name Society. Tom is a financial professional who freely speaks about his faith, how his faith influences the work he does with his clients. Steve Mercadante is a retired mechanical engineer who embarked on a second career as a high school teacher. He's also a terrific musician who in recent years has felt the call to direct his talents more towards spreading the gospel. He plays guitar and sings with a worship band and is writing original spiritual music, which he longs to share with others. With Tom, Steve is reshaping the Parish Holy Name Society. Together, during this pandemic and social lockdown, these two men began a weekly small faith sharing group for men of the parish on Zoom that's been extremely dynamic and rewarding for the participants, including me. In this episode, Paula, Tom, and Steve share their thoughts with us on what the apostolate of the laity envisioned by the Council means to them. Enjoy their powerful and very personal insights. Thank you all for being here and sharing your thoughts with us. One effect of the teaching of the Second Vatican Council was an acknowledgement of the special and indispensable role of the laity in the mission of the Church. Called to holiness in whatever state in life, how do you see your role in the life of the Church, and more specifically in the parish, reflecting this acknowledgement?
So I guess years ago, I may have answered this question differently, but I've come to realize from, literally spending time with Jesus is that I am critically important. I am special to him and to the world. I think that's a big concept for everyone to really understand, that we are so special and we are such a gift, and he's a gift to us. And with that feeling of, nudging, moving people forward, expressing things that may be unexpressed through the eyes of Jesus and through the heart of Jesus. That's where a lot of I've spent a lot of time there, and thinking about myself in the church and in the community of that he's given us on the globe. It may sound pretty deep, but I do believe in that. I believe in how special we are, and the job that he has given us, and it's a responsibility. I take it seriously.
I think my role is twofold. On the one hand, it's to minister to others, and on the other, it's for me to be ministered and for me to grow in my spirituality. I see that duality, that dual purpose, as part of my everyday life and look forward to what Jesus has in store for me each and every day.
Well, I think my first role as a layperson is in my family as part of what would be my domestic church. And I think that's where my role starts, and how I relate to my children and my marriage, and how I try to bring my faith always into everything we do, and instill in my children a love of God, and that the importance of faith in their life. I think that is always my most important role as a lay person. I think we all have, just by our baptism, we all have an obligation to bring the kingdom of God up in any way that we can. I think we have to, as lay people, just bring that joy that we experience out in any way that we can.
It's about looking for Jesus, the opportunities to serve Jesus once we get up and once we rest, that we approach our day looking for Jesus and trying to find what he's calling us to do each and every day.
In this day and age, especially with the lack of men going into ordained life, the laity really have an enormous responsibility to help the ordained bring up the kingdom of God in whatever way you see your gifts and offer, whenever you're called. And that's my motto.
I think we're being called to witness both in our parish and in all the things that we do in the town, in Middletown, with our families, in my case in a school, and throughout the day, throughout the evening, at home. So I think the Vatican Council has proposed that we are, each one of us are indispensable to the mission of Jesus in our life. And we need to be present to him in all these ways. I'll come back.
We don't talk about these things amongst ourselves all the time in gatherings and when we're out to dinner, when we have friends over, but I think it exists within all of us under many layers of peeling back armor or onions, and whatever analogy you want to use. It's all there in the heart. We just have to uncover it. We have to discover it. So if we're communicating with him over time, there will be a change. There will be a shift to come closer to him. And we will be doing that job of the laity. And it doesn't have to be hard. It's a 1 degree shift in the way I might think about something, like just a small step. It's not this I don't have to get a PhD in this subject. I just have to open up my heart. And I think everyone on this planet has that ability.
I think we would all agree that we don't have two different lives. I don't act differently in the parish, and then when I walk outside into town, into the deli, or into my school, that I'm different. I think, and I think that's one of the big things that we as laity try to accomplish, that there is no difference in our life. I walk the walk and I talk the talk in every step that I take every day, because I know that Jesus is putting people in my life, and they're not just coincidences. He's putting them there so we can interact, we can respond, and that our challenge is to be that witness, the same witness that we may have on Sunday morning, the same witness that we try to be 24/7, to be with our families, our friends, and our place of work. And I think that's the challenge for us.
Bishop Robert Barron has pointed out that the fundamental purpose of the council was to encourage the church in its missionary identity and activity. St. Paul VI said it is the church's purpose to evangelize. How do you act as a missionary and evangelizer in this parish? Do you feel that that role has been encouraged over the years you've been a parishioner here? And how have the ways that you share your faith changed over time?
Yes, 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 and yes. I came to St. Leo's from another parish that I love, I won't mention, but I never felt drawn to be involved there. There were no I never heard them ask for volunteers to do things. I never saw things in the bulletin asking for help with anything really. And then when I came here to St. Leo's, there's so many missions and things going on here that you can get involved in. And I think the first thing I started with was the Children's Liturgy of the Word, which I think is an amazing ministry here at St. Leo's. And I think as an evangelizer, that's a perfect place to start. I mean, you're talking about children who are 3, 4, and 5 who want to listen to you, they're engaged with what you're saying, and they get it. They ask amazing questions. So I've always felt that that's a wonderful ministry. But
So I just didn't wake up one day and here I am. This has been, again, not only me witnessing to others, it's been about the nourishment I need to grow in my spiritual life. It's about rubbing elbows with different people in the parish and getting their perspective in ways that I may never have thought of. It's also about the encouragement as fellow men, women, to take that step, to be bold about our faith, to reach beyond ourselves. So when you witness that in your parish, when you witness that with other folks that you work with, maybe in a ministry such as Tom and I, it it's like working out together in the gym. It's about getting together and doing those reps and reaching and pushing ourselves to be better. And so as a community and as a parish, it has a profound impact on our own personal journey. And so that's the takeaway I get. It's not just from me to some other person. It's no way just that. It's about all these folks in our parish and our community that we interact with, that we hopefully have an impact on them, but in return, they have an impact on us. And it helps deepen our faith, and it helps us to recognize Jesus' hand in our lives and the things we are doing.
So I like the way you said that, Steve. That that relationship, that two-way thing that occurs between Jesus and I, or Jesus and you, or you and I, right? So that two-way relationship is so critical, and it is there's so many deep benefits to that. I really what you were talking about with what we learn from others and in that relationship, and what we certainly learn from, or have the propensity to learn from Jesus. So, I mean, we can't possibly learn all the things he has to teach us in this lifetime. I mean, I think even maybe like Father John would say that, right? We're constantly learning. We're constantly looking at things differently. But we have to start somewhere, right? We have to know and be aware that we want to be on this path of growth and learning and accepting things of others, and maybe even being uncomfortable at times with the whole idea of the subject that we're talking about today. So those are just some things that I think about when have I been encouraged to evangelize, and what ways have I been encouraged and instructed and given advice to do things. It can be a very creative process.
I want to tell a story about trying to do what Jesus is calling me. I want to tell a story about how Jesus calls me every day and my perspective on that. And it has to do with being locked down this year in the house. And I got up one morning and I asked, I was sort of having a conversation with Jesus saying, what could you possibly ask me to do today? And I was kind of musing over that, saying, I'm locked down. I'm in the house. I have to do stuff for school. What could you possibly ask me to do? Here's my list. And I was sort of feeling good that I kind of felt like I got over on him. That, hey, I'm going to just be able to do what I want to do today. And about 4 o'clock, I said, let me check up on a student. And I called her, and she immediately started crying on the phone. And because her mom was suspected of having COVID, she has an absentee father, and she said, I'm 16, I don't know how to handle this. So we eventually said a prayer together, and then later I just shook my head and said, only God, only you alone.
But I think all our role as an evangelizer is to just share your story, share your life. And that's one of the things I've always said, even when I taught CCD, whatever topic we were talking about, I would share my experience, whether it was how I pray, what it means to me when I go to church, what I get from going to Mass. And I think we get caught up in this sense of it always has to be big. And I always told my students that God doesn't ask us all to do big jobs. Sometimes he asks us to do a little job, like one of my favorite saints, Andre Bessett, who all he was called to do was open the door at where he was at the seminary or the school. I don't remember exactly, but that was his job. He opened the door, and he did it with love, and he did it with joy, and he greeted everyone with the love of Christ, and he saw Christ in everyone. And I think that's our role. I think that's the important part of evangelization, is that you see people where they are. It's not about you when you're evangelizing or when you're trying to reach someone. It's about seeing that person where they are and what they need in that moment, and just being Jesus for them, seeing Jesus in them and being Jesus for them at that moment in time, and whatever it is they need, whether it's a smile on a day they're feeling sad, a hug, or just sharing your story with them so they know that they're not alone, because we're all on the same journey. And I think,
Steve, Tom, this question's specifically for you. You have, probably without thinking about it in these terms, truly embraced the call of the council for a greater role of the laity in the life of the church. You've taken this call seriously in a lot of different ways, through your music, through teaching religious education, and more specifically, through your shared leadership of the Holy Name Society. Much of what you've been doing has generated organically. It's an act of inspiration, if you will. No one asked you to do it. Can you relate that to the spirit of lay engagement in the church called for by the council? And why do you think this is particularly important nowadays for men?
While much of our energy has been used to do good works in the parish with the holy name, Tom and I have had this burning desire for at least a year that we wanted to invert the pyramid. We wanted not good works to be at the top. We wanted spirituality, and in particular, men's spiritual growth to be at the top of the pyramid. And so we talked about it, we prayed about it, and we got to the point where we said, we're just going to do this thing. Let's, and Tom brought forth the Jesus is Calling devotional book. And we said, let's just call some men together. Let's zoom in and see where it goes. and we haven't looked back. It's been such a ride of spiritual benefits, spiritual food for everyone involved. And we know that Jesus' hand is in this. We know because we can feel it in our hearts. We can sense it. We can see it. We can hear it in the dialogue we're having with men who are finally taking a breath from their to-do lists, from their Franklin Covey manuals, and listening. And we're listening together, and we're laughing about ourselves because we know that's who we are. We want to just drive the nails with the hammer and make this beautiful space we're in. But it's hard and difficult for us to listen. It's hard and difficult for us to take direction from someone other than ourselves because we're so used to leading. And so we've been on this journey for almost, 4 or 5 months now. And 16 weeks. And it's been so beneficial to us personally. I can tell you that it's opened my eyes. It's made me more willing, not scared, to hear what Jesus may want me to do today. And I think that's another part of it. I think men intrinsically are like, if you ask, he's going to ask you to do something really big. And I think Jesus knows each of us, knows our hearts, knows where we're at. Some of us have young families that we're tending to. Some of us, or many of us, have jobs that take 60 hours a week at least from our energy. So he knows how to lead us to his salvation. He knows how to lead us to fulfill his mission today in Lincroft, in Middletown. And so we're just really going along with it. I remember discussing this, that, he's waiting for us to show up. He's waiting for us to show up to the ballpark. Here we are at the softball field. He's waiting for us to show up and just listen to him. And he'll do the rest. And we've witnessed this within our own lives, with the men we're sharing with everybody around this gazebo. And we can tell you that it's real, it's encouraging, it makes you want to do more. It makes you want to listen more closely because you begin to see the Master's hand in everything we do and everything we are.
Well said, Steve. Just going back to my little perspective of, always looking at things with the end in mind, and you start thinking about doing something different with men in the parish. There's no women involved in this weekly forum that we have, right? So sometimes women are our crutches, right? Like they aid us in a lot of things. So if they're coming along, it's fine. But am I going to do this alone without my wife or without my spouse? Like, she'll prop me up when I need it. We might not verbalize that, but we know it's there. So we're gonna, will they come? Will men show up? Will we put this thing out into the cloud, and no men will show up for this and think we're crazy? Like, who are Tom and Steve to, be these Bible thumpers or these, things that come to mind in that nature. So we were thinking about this going, if we overthought it, we would have never done it. So we said, even if one man shows up, and you to Steve's point with this programmatic way men think about things, like, so the backup, like, what if nobody shows up? So then it's just Steve and I talking, and what's wrong with that? So with knowing that there was nothing to lose, and if one man was attracted to what we wanted to talk about, wow, that would be just a starting point, right? Like, I don't think there's this big, guide right? That says this is how you have to do all these things. There's taking chances and there's putting your heart out there, and that's kind of what we did. So we have to be appealing. Right? We have to be relevant. We have to be on task with what are we trying to get out of it. And it was just very simply, what is your relationship with Jesus? Is it there? Is it not there? Do you want it to be different? Do you want it to be better? Do you want to talk about it with other men that want to be on that same path? It was so simple. And again, the putting aside the what if it doesn't work was, part of what we prayed on, and the Lord just gave us the fortitude to just put it out there. And then like Steve said, COVID came and now we could hide behind Zoom. We don't have to do it in person and wait at the parish center for men to come and nobody shows up. Because that's what happens with a lot of things. People just don't show up today because life's hard. There's distractions. There's reasons for all these things, right? We may not think about them, but there are reasons. Someone got stuck working late. The train didn't get me home. My kid got hurt during the day. Now I got to take him to the ER. There's so many darn distractions in dealing with our lives that it prevents us from getting to some of these things that we wanted to talk to men about and share with. So put it out there and see what happens. And I think that for the men that have been able to join us, whether it's one time or 5 times or every other week or whatever it is, I feel in my heart that Jesus has touched them through this book and through the discussions we've had, and just creating the awareness, right, as an initial step, the awareness that we want this. This is something that we are choosing to do. This is not somebody dictating us that we have to do this or we have to do it this way. It's something that men are choosing to do because at the end of the day, when you pull those layers of armor and onions and all that stuff back, this is what our soul and our heart needs. And Jesus knows the way, and we just got to grab onto that. It's pretty simple, but it's hard at the same time. So awareness has been the thing that Steve and I have tried to just put out there to make folks aware that these things are possible. And there's other guys struggling with it too, and there's other women struggling with it too, and the clergy, I'm sure, is struggling with all these things. They're distracted. They're not separate and apart from us. They're humans just like we are. We're all fighting against this distraction. So every week we've been able to talk about this stuff with other guys from St. Leo's, and it's something I don't want to miss every week. It's you have to experience it for you to even know yourself. My words may not be your words. My feelings may not be your feelings. Yeah, it's an experiential thing that the Lord works in different ways. And there's, who knows on a given Wednesday night at 7 o'clock when we do this, how he may touch you and how he may become present in your life, and things could change 1 degree or dramatically in just your awareness, and say, wow, I got to start paying attention to some more things than just these 5 rote things that I do. We know what those rote things are, right? We're doing those pretty good.
Excellent. And certainly, whenever we reflect on Jesus or his word, or be it any devotional such as Jesus' calling, he lights a fire in us. He provides us direction. He holds our hand and guides us through the tough times and through little things that he wants us to do each day. So it's been a very rewarding experience.
Paula, you're involved in so many ministries in the parish and take part in almost every faith formation opportunity that's offered. Why is this so important to you? How do you feel it helps you realize your unique calling as a Christian layperson? And can you speak specifically to your thoughts on the proper role of lay women in the life of the church, especially now that Pope Francis is looking for ways to increase that role?
Yes, I do participate in many faith formation opportunities here and outside. And the reason I do that, and it is so important to me, is I think that your faith is a living, breathing thing. And I think that no matter how much you learn, there's so much more to learn, and there's so many more perspectives, whether it's on Bible or liturgy, there's always something else to learn. So I do take advantage of any opportunities because it's important to me to enable me to grow in my faith and move and progress through the journey, my faith journey. And as far as the role of women in the church, I see it changing dramatically now with Pope Francis, and he's bringing more women into more important roles. But I think when you hear that, I think a lot of the times we tend to focus on what women can't do as opposed to what they can do. I mean, obviously, women cannot be ordained, and I think we get hung up on that sometimes, and we forget the important role that women have played from all throughout Bible, all through salvation history, Old Testament, the strong women of the Old Testament, and then when we move into the life of Jesus, I mean, look at the Blessed Mother, who I have a tremendous devotion to. I mean, her yes changed the world. It brought the Word of God made flesh to us. And then I think sometimes we forget how important her role in his mission was. I mean, at the wedding of Cana, Jesus was not ready. He was saying, "No, Mom, this isn't the time." And there's no discussion in the Bible. There's no arguing back and forth. We don't know what was said. All we know is that Mary said, "Do what he tells you." And we did. And they did. And the mission started. And look at the power that she had as his mother and as our mother. And I think when you look through the church history, women have played a remarkable role. I mean, look at something as simple as what Mother Angelica did. She thought everyone should be praying the rosary every day on TV, and she started an entire television network. And look at Mother Teresa, who changed. I adore Mother Teresa. She's someone I find so empowering, that this little nun, went to the poorest place in the entire world and changed forever how we see the poor. She changed forever how we see charity. Charity was no longer just dropping a few dollars in a bucket somewhere. She put a face to the people who needed that help. She made us see the poor. She made us see the people that needed us. And I think of these women and many, many other women, and I think there's nothing that a woman can't do in this church. And the thing I think we need to remember as women is when we're baptized, we are baptized with the same baptism of every man, every priest, cardinal, pope. You are baptized priest, prophet, and king. Not priestess, prophetess, and princess. You are priest, prophet, and king. You share in the same mission as Jesus, which means you can do anything as far as what you see your role is in the church, other than the obvious not being, we can't be ordained. But again, I think we look at women's role in the church as what I can't do. I think we have to look at what I can do and all the opportunities. And there's so many amazing women who show us. Joan of Arc led armies. I mean, there's no end to what a woman can do, and the strength of a woman. And I think we bring something pastoral that sometimes is lacking, a sensitivity. I think women see things differently than men, and that adds to the dialogue, and that adds to the beauty of the faith. And again, like I said earlier, a woman's role in the domestic church is huge. If we're not raising strong Catholics in the faith, then what are we doing? The faith can't continue without that. So I think we have to take our role in the home very seriously, and also look at the church and where we're needed and where we can bring our gifts and talents. and think about all these amazing women that have come before us, and just go where your heart tells you and where Jesus is leading you to go and what he's leading you to help him with. That's our job. That's our mission, is to continue his mission. So listen for what Jesus is telling you. If you listen, you'll hear it. You'll hear it in your heart, what he needs you to do.
Thanks again for joining us. I hope that you've seen a little bit of yourself in the thoughts shared by these three members of our faith family. Perhaps they've inspired you to re-examine your own understanding of your spiritual gifts and how you can put them to use in the parish and the larger community to spread the good news of our salvation in Jesus Christ. I look forward to having you back for our next episode, when we will discuss the great council document on the Church in the modern world, Gaudium et Spes, Joy and Hope. Until then, stay safe, be well, and God bless.